Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Gardens, the Untold Story. I'm Ken Somerville, my co-host and one of my better friends, Mr. Andy Lopez, the Invisible Gardener. So, Andy, we're going to talk about some crazy stuff today, living under our soils, talking to plants across the globe, and that's mycelium and the intelligence that mycelium has. So you wrote this in your second chapter of your book. It's Don't Panic, It's Organic. And there's so much more under our soils that we really need to understand that we don't. But Andy, give us an idea of what the heck the mycelium intelligence is.
Okay, look. So I could go down this path and I could say, well, these are things. This is a network in the soil that feeds the plants and communicates with the plants. And it's a network of biology that everybody has a task to do. And this is pretty much a standard thing that people will talk about when they talk about the biology. I listen in on a lot of other podcasts and other people talking about biology. It's usually the type of mycelium or mycorrhiza or whatever the name of that particular biology is, a microbe, whatever, and how the nutrients are available. And all that stuff we should know by now. We should have a really good idea of exactly what's going on there. Mm-hmm. But what I want to convey to you guys is that by now, those of you who follow me, you know I'm a wild and crazy guy. That's what I can tell. A wild and crazy guy. Oh, so I started when I started doing gardening in the 6th grade. I wasn't thinking mycelium. I'm not thinking about microbes. I'm not thinking. I'm lucky if I look at it. Oh, it's a worm. Cool. But other than that, it wasn't really. And of course, the school didn't say, "Hey, you have biology in the soil." They never said anything stuff. So I did. I basically went into service right out of high school.
Right.
When I got out of the service, I was like 21, and so I was still. So I studied a lot of things, but it basically came back to I really was into growing things. I was into soil. I was into helping. I want to have a vegetable garden. I ate super nasty vegetable garden. All the things that I still do want to do now, and I started. I never treated the soil or the earth as if it was a non-living thing. I think it has a lot to do with my spiritual ideas. I started calling Gaia. I read a lot about Finhorn. It's a place in Northern Ireland where they treat all the elemental spirits. I was very much into when I always looked at things. I always look at it from a slightly different point of view. I was very interested in Stonehenge. I was interested in lots of books. One of my favorite books is Secret Life of Plants, because that was a really cool book. Secrets of the Soil, another cool book. I've always liked these stuff because I knew they were correct because I experienced these things. Okay, and what I experienced is what I want to talk to you all about. And my experience is very wide, very ranging. But it comes down to what I experienced. This is what I'm going to pass on to you. So this is my opinion. In my opinion, I can tell you all these things that happened to me. Hey, what we got here? We got Dr. Libby Alone. Is that correct?
Yep. And they need to send me an email because they won Layton's chorus on Monday, and I'm still waiting for that email. And then we just had Ghetto Hippie show up too.
Hey, Ghetto Hippie, you're just in time. I'm going to reveal the secrets of the universe. Oh well, I'll reveal it a little bit at a time. So when so as a youth, I never did drugs. I basically didn't even smoke pot as a kid. It was one of those things until I got barely. When I was 17, I got turned on to it, and then at 18, I was in the service. So by then, I was already in the Navy. I never drank booze. I never did any drugs. But the pot, then I started doing a little bit when I was around. When I got out of the service, 21, I started had friends. Well, they're famous for doing LSD drugs. These are hippies that are well known: Timothy Leary, Richard Alberts, Baba Ram Das. I hung around with a lot of other quote gurus and masters and organizations because I was looking for looking for
Right.
that. At the
Right.
same time, I would encounter people who are also looking for that, but say, take this. So that's where I learned about psilocybin mushrooms. I would go out there and meditate to it, and the mushrooms come up, and they would give me an experience. And most people will go, blah, blah, blah. What I experienced was I started communicating with the mycelium consciousness, with the consciousness that communicated back to me.
Right.
I learned from experience that when you are tripping and you get all these colors of what you're doing, you're seeing it through the mycelium. You're seeing what the mycelium sees. This is what the mycelium sees, and you're seeing it. It's translating to you in your brain what's going on in the mycelium brain. And we talk about consciousness. Consciousness is not limited to me. It's not limited to the ant. It's one consciousness. The mycelium and I are one. The mycelium and I are in the universe. The universe and I are one, and so on. We're all one consciousness, right? So if we're one consciousness, you can communicate with yourself. The left hand should have no problem talking to the right hand, even though this is brain here that communicates for it. But that's the thing, right? We do. So I started communicating, and the whole interesting thing about it, see, my name, Invisible Gardener, directly relates to that experience.
Okay.
That's how one of the reasons why I got that name in the first place, because it was an invisible garden in this world, basically hidden in the soil, right? It's in there,
Yeah.
and that's a garden we don't see. And so when I started doing Invisible Gardener, lots of other things came into my consciousness, and this was the same consciousness prodding me in this direction. One of the things I'm understanding more and more is that the universe is talking to me. Jump, I jump. The
Okay.
universe said, bet on this number, I bet on that number. And the only reason why things don't happen is because they say no. So I started communicating early on in my life with, and then so that was just a mushroom experience. And I was already a good meditator. I really learned how to meditate. I learned
Mhm.
how to do all these techniques and stuff. And meditation gets me really high. If I started meditating, I would love to go in the forest and you never see me again. You know what I want to do? I want to go to Mount Everest and live on the mountain up there, so you'll never see me again. Because I can communicate with nature. By that I mean they communicate back. It's not that you sit there
Yeah.
going, "Oh, I tree, you're such a nice tree." No, the tree is going, "Dude, what's going on with you?" Right? And those are experiences that I have had, and in the process of, and then later on when I started going out with people who had a higher experience, or they would do whatever natural drug is available. I'm not talking about cocaine or heroin. I'm talking about natural substances you can take. They're in nature. That gets you high, and bam, there you are communicating with the consciousness of that. Basically, is there. I believe from my experience, I have encountered several different types of beings, and each of these beings are in a separate, different realm that their consciousness deals with. That's how I look at it. Okay, so Gaia, as we learn, as we call it Gaia, that's this one
Mhm.
being, this one consciousness. But that consciousness is really the same consciousness as the suns, or the galaxies, or even black holes. They all have the same consciousness, but different aspects. And you have a same consciousness as I do, but you look different than me. I'm vastly more intelligent. I'm more
Oh,
smarter.
and much better looking, Andy. You look so much younger than me too.
My beard is not as good as yours, but that's another story. Yeah. So we are different, yet we're the same consciousness. See? So I so to me, and then I read a book recently. It's called Mycelium Running by Paul
Mhm.
Stamets. Here's the book, Mycelium Running.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
guys should get this, because this is how mushrooms can save the world. And this here talks a lot about the same things that I have experienced. And he talks about how, and it's really true. So let's look at mycelium. Okay, so you know how mycelium looks like. Uh, if you were to bring it up on the internet, but Silly's not working here today, but maybe you could, but you doesn't have to. It will look like, you will see this web, right? You'll see this lining, little veins everywhere, and that looks identical. If you was to compare it with a solar system out in space, you will see it's identical. And if you was to compare your brain, the way your brain is set up, you will find the
Yeah.
very same web in your brain, and you find the very same web in the soil. So it's no coincidence that all these things, no matter how big they are or how small they are or how they are within us, have the same web. And the web is the same. It's like a tuning. So so remember we talked about the the crystals, the shape of crystals in water,
Mhm.
right? Okay, so And we also looked into you guys have been if you guys just showed up, you've been missing a lot of stuff because I cover everything. Remember we talked about how a fractal, how that works, right? A fractal.
Yeah, yeah,
Hello, hey, or a fractal. So basically, what that all means is that a frequency has several different dimensions at the same time. It has a frequency, it has a color, right? A color is the same as a frequency, but it's a different dimension, so to speak, right? Right? You see what I mean? And
yeah.
there's power with the symbols. The written language is a symbol. You write a symbol. That is another dimension. Same of the symbol and of the right. It's the very same.
Yeah.
It's referring to the very same thing. I tell people it's like a blind man seeing an elephant. There's 7 blind men. They all touch a different part of the elephant. The elephant's like a big ear, or the elephant's like a big nose, or the elephant has some big legs. And so the truth is that the elephant's a combination of all these things. So that's what we're talking about here. And so the mycelium consciousness is really saying the God consciousness, because I'm doing is that's recognizing that the mycelium itself, that creature, that being that's a mycelium consciousness, is basically an earth consciousness, because the earth is the mycelium, encompasses everywhere on this planet. And you see the structures, how water shapes, how energy shape. It's the same. A hurricane, look at the hurricane, a perfect example. The mycelium does the very same swirling thing. See, right? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so the connection is that we are very special in the sense that our consciousness can, okay, an ant can't say, well, it can't be talking about consciousness. That's right. Water has memory. It truly does. And so, and the memory is really the imprint, the frequency lead. The frequencies are sound and color are produced in various different dimensions. In water, the crystals of water, certain crystals of water will form that dimension. As a matter of fact, if you was to play music, put a jar of water on a flat, some liquid on a flat plate and play, you'll see how the water will turn into different symbols. You can take different like metal, aluminum filing, a metal
Yeah,
magnetic
yeah.
filing, you sprinkle it around. You'll see how they will, when you play the music, they will form different things. All throughout histories in Egypt, the hieroglyphs are all basically everything that even the Tibetan and the Mayan, when they write things, those are symbolic representation of that frequency.
Well, you got to consider its energy, frequency, vibration, and it's the same thing. It's just looking at it through a different lens, but it's all the same thing, and you have to have that in combination. Now, talking about a mycelium and a large area of mycelium, I believe it's in Oregon, on top of one of the mountains. They have a mycelium bed or mat that is, hundreds or thousands of
Yeah,
hectares large,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's an interconnected web, and that's what our whole planet is supposed to be, is that interconnected web of life, and sending those frequencies back and forth.
So we have the ability, us human beings are very unique in a certain sense that uh, all the animals around us do not have the same type of connection that we do. They have
Yes.
a consciousness, but they haven't gotten to the point of say, therefore I am, and look at other things and say, what is that? What is this? All they can see is their world from their own point of view, how their energy sees it. But for us, not only can we see our world, but we have this connection which tunes us in to how the whole universe works, specifically how the earth works, and uh, how intertwined, by intertwined, they all communicate with each other. We communicate
Yeah.
with each other. And the mycelium web is a very highly communicate, like in our brains. Our brain communicates with everything in our body, right? Zip, 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 all over it. Not just in our brain, but it communicates with everything in our body. This finger is constantly communicating with our brain. These fingers are talking to each other. Everybody's talking to each other in lots of different ways, and we can tune into that. Take it one step further. We are as a human race. We are one brain. We have one consciousness as a human race. We have this connection as human beings. And if you take it one further, we have one consciousness of the earth. All these different animals that live here, all those consciousnesses formed one consciousness, one one intelligence, and the root of all these, I tune into mycelium, but it's not that the mycelium governs the whole universe. The mycelium is just it's just it reproduces itself according to how the energy of the universe is, which is basically that's how the mycelium looks like. That's how the universe looks like. So that symbol is very important because it's it's kind of like entrapment. Scientists call it entrapment. When you have two things that are vibrating together, it doesn't matter how far apart they are; they're tuned into each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
Right. And so what we're learning, what I have learned is that I can tune in to different parts of my being, which even if it's not my being, but your being or another place, or even to me, what's really cool is that the mycelium is very super intelligent and it can teach me so many things, and why we're here, how trees work, how trees communicate, how insects and plants, everybody communicates with each other, whether we know it or not. And there's
Yeah.
a real fine dance that they have going on there. And we tend to be separate, but we can be part of that. It's just like that's what the Garden of Eden was all about, really. In one sense, I felt it felt that we can all be living in the Garden of Eden. Everybody could be harmonizing together, but we're not doing that. We're basically are destroying our little paradise, and I'm not sure why. For what reason? I think it's for money. I think it has to do with money. But hopefully, we'll get over that, and then we'll tee into what's really important right now. To me, what's important is, and what I get, the messages I get is that they're not going anywhere.
Well,
We
they've
are.
been here a lot longer than our physical forms, and I look at it, Andy, as a computer network where it's all these signals going through, just like in our brain, the all the electrical signals, and that's the mycelium brain on our planet that is the sensory receptors of the consciousness of our planet Gaia, how whatever you want to term it. But we've been killing that network, and how is our planet going to react if we keep cutting parts of it off, or keep cutting fingers and toes off? I don't think our planet's very happy with what we're doing right now by
So
killing off this life form that is so interconnected. And like you had the consciousness experience doing the fruit of the mycelium, which is the mushroom, and that connection that was formed, and now those connections are being taken away from us. But Andy, we've got a couple of questions here I wanted to kind of jump into. um are using outdoor mushrooms for mycelium in living soil beds good, or are they toxic?
no, they shouldn't be toxic for living soil beds if you're using the
No.
mushrooms from outdoors. It depends on the what mushrooms you're planning on using, because if you don't know your mushrooms are running around outside, you could have some toxic mushrooms. So you need to make sure you get the right variety if you're going to be eating those things. But if you're using for the mycelium, if you're saying you take the mycelium and using somewhere else, that's a different story.
Okay, now how does the term soil food web differ from the term soil microbiome?
Well, it's just another way of saying it, except that one way establishes that there's a web, and the web is really super interconnected, whereas the soil microbiome can vary from different parts of the world, and it can vary how it's structured, because it would depend upon where the like I was at the talking last Wednesday about this lady wrote a book called Intraterrestrial, about
Mhm.
microbes that live miles and miles and miles down deep in the earth, and they have a different soil microbiome than anything else anybody's ever seen. But they don't really have a soil web going on, which means a variety of different layers of soil, different structures living. This would just be one particular layer, one particular uh, thing that's going on there. Because normally you would have different layers of soil microbiomes, because they would be different, just like in our stomach, we slightly different geared to do different things. Does that help?
Well, and I think, Andy, the soil food web is actually not just what's in the soil. It's all life. It's
Yeah,
that web of life. And like if
exactly
you
right.
look at the pictures that represent the
When they
soil food
decay,
web,
they die and they decay.
yeah, you're seeing birds and
Yeah,
animals and everything in that cycle of life.
right. There you go.
That's the soil food web is from birth to growth to death and back into the soil. It's that loop where soil microbiome is strictly the biology that is existing in the soil itself.
Yeah, look, I was reading what it was saying over here about cannabis negative reviewed on high current comments. Sorry, something came up that said high current contents.
Yeah,
I
Andy can see the back end now. It's getting him lost. But and
yeah.
then there's will there be an online course to go along with Ken's new book? He's calling it's all about the biology. I don't believe that I will put a course together, Cheryl. Um, it's really it's going to be a very interesting book, but it's not going to be huge simply because there's not really a huge amount that makes up this. Life is very very complex, yet it's very very simple, just because it's all based on cell division biology and how to get the building blocks to the biology to build the cells. But I don't think I'll be putting on a course, but that may be something I do in the future. We'll have to see, Cheryl.
Farmer Cheryl, yeah.
Now I'm going to go back to the comments here and take a look. So, Andy, you were talking about and this is where Andy was last Wednesday. Guys, the what he's talking about, the book he's talking about is, where he was last Wednesday. What's it called again?
Intraterrestrials.
Okay,
Intraterrestrials. In discovering the strangest life on Earth.
okay.
Yeah. What? What? What did I say?
Well, you're just talking about the book, but you're going to try to have the lady that
Yeah,
wrote that book. We're
on
going
as
to
a
try
guest.
to get her on the show. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I like to get her on as a guest. It's very, very interesting that this microbes can live to be millions of years old, and they don't reproduce, and they don't pass food on to anything. They eat it. They take it and they eat it. That's how they survive. And there's lots of things that nobody even knows about. Lots of these creatures they have no idea, never seen them before. Uh, she's hoping it gives them uh, because I think it's called Europa, another place on another planet, not too far. It's one of the biggest moon in our system. I think one of the biggest. It's mainly made of water. They think that there
Yeah,
could be deep in there some type of life that
yeah.
basic or otherwise. Because I don't think it has to be truly advanced to be intelligent.
Well, and that's the thing. Like we know just from rock samples that have been drilled where they've found biology, 10,000 feet deep. That's the exact same strain of biology that's on the surface of our planet, but the biology on the surface lives for a day or 3 days, and yet the biology that's in that rock lives hundreds of thousands of years. So I don't have any doubt that there is biology living in our the Earth's core that has been there for billions of years, and it's a base biology. We often talk about the predator prey model where you can't have the one without the other, and in our cycle of life on our planet, it's been that way as generating higher forms of biology feeds another layer, and you can't have that next layer until you've got the food source there for that next layer. It's like the human beings, we couldn't survive until there was plants and animals that we could consume, because we couldn't consume the stuff that lives only on methane gas. It had to be something we could consume before we could ever be here in these forms. It's the cycle of life had to start at the bottom. And that's why we say it all starts in the soil. And that's where we got to get back to, is getting the biology back into the soil, so the plants, animals we do consume actually give us the nutrients we need to create healthy cells in our body.
I think that part of the reason why we need to get back to our roots, so to speak, is because our consciousness is leading us back there. My
Yes.
consciousness is leading me back there, and I know that if you live on this planet, sooner or later your consciousness goes back to the earth, where you start thinking about it, where you start realizing that there's something a lot more going on here than just a piece of rock that we're living on. And
Yeah.
and it's interesting too that if you were, I'm not saying everybody should go out and do mushrooms, because there are lots of ways you can get in touch with this consciousness. Some things Mother Nature has set up for you. Take this and like the little Alice in Wonderland thing, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Well, even I ran across a book from I think a Japanese, but an Oriental doctor, communing with trees, and just sitting there and allowing that communication to happen. You don't need to do anything extra. You just need to actually accept that this communication can happen, that energy is there. Like Andy, like I know you can get into that mindset, that frame of mind, without ever consuming anything
I
now.
don't like frame of mind term. It's a frame
Okay.
of something. Because when you're in a frame of mind, you're really in your body and you're scared. You're scared and you don't know what's going on. You need more money. You need food. Oh my God, the world's shaking. It's like that's the frame of mind.
Okay.
Oh my God, right? I'm getting old. I'm gonna die. It's like stop. Okay, right? That's the frame. You want to be out of the frame. You want to be out of your mind. And when you're out
Oh,
of your
you're
mind,
definitely there, Andy. You're definitely out of your mind. Okay.
so I was fortunate in that always learned how to meditate before I even did any drugs or anything. I already learned how to listen
Yeah.
to insects, listen to the trees, listen to the birds, and I can't say listen to the soil, but I always heard something was going on there. Whether a lot of times you hear things that you hear that whether people are walking on it or things are going on, you hear the footprints, you hear the thunder, you hear the rain, you hear all kinds of things just by listening to the soil.
Yeah.
I found that some trees you can put your ear up to, you can actually listen, hear everything that's going on around you. So it's very, very trippy.
Yeah.
So I learned that none of this can be happening without some intelligence, without it being alive.
Well, and
That
like
was
Leighton was telling us, I think it's over a year now, about a study that came out that showed that plants have more sensors than we do. We've only got 5 senses, and plants have like 7 or 8 senses. You know, but we don't allow ourselves to tune in to that energy, and that's where sometimes you need that help to get there. And that's where you're doing like Goathead and some of the people saying peyote, things like that. There's certain honeys that you
Hey,
can
go ahead. Have you
consume.
ever done peyote? Go ahead. Say
Yep.
yes or no. Come on.
But
I dare
it's
you.
allowing yourself to believe that those energies and that flow of energy we as human beings can tap into, and we've lost that communication. We need to get back to that communication. And Goathead says no, he hasn't.
I think that in the beginning, when people started to be more primitive, they had that communication. I think that
Yeah.
in for example, in the Greek, they talk about the oracles, different
Yeah.
oracles that you will go to. All throughout human race, there are those that uh, you go to because they communicate with what you can't communicate with. I mean, I
Yeah.
grew up in a family where we believed in and going. You have those little gypsy stands, and they have those little psychic reader. Well, those are supposed to be the ones that do the communication for us. But
Yeah.
so we've always had that belief that we can't communicate, and some of the times we think that only certain people can do it, but in reality, all of us can.
Yeah.
Children communicate. I see it. Children and very old people in the same boat. They easily communicate with other spirits, other beings. They have no
Yeah.
problem whatsoever talking to them and talking back. It's only those in the middle that are stuck in this rigid, I'm not going to see it, I'm not going to see it thing. Until
Yeah.
sooner or later, they either give up or they do. And so that's what these things are here for, to to help us expand our awareness. But the reality is you don't really need them. Once you do them and you have the key, you don't need, you unlock the door. You don't need to lock the door anymore. You can open the door freely. Lots of ways you can learn how to communicate. That's what the that's what meditation is all really about, though.
Yeah,
And
and Cheryl's asking you, is it beneficial and can it be done without taking anything to make that happen?
exactly right. You'll find that the meditation is a process that you have to do. So I started learning a certain technique of meditation in 1970, and that was the year that I got out of the service. I started doing mushrooms, and I was, I said I'm going to go find God, and I went to all these different churches, and I went to all these different meditation groups. I remember going to the whirling dervish, whirling around. I remember going to lots of other different um, groups. They would teach certain specific things, and it would be really cool. You can meditate on them, and some of them they give you drugs to do, like a little opium and stuff, which I never really liked that. But the one technique that I stumbled upon was a very powerful technique, which straightened me out right away. I've been practicing that technique, but also allows you to be open to every other technique that you have, because there's not one specific thing that you have to do. There's certain things you can do, but you find everybody does it in one way or the other. But meditation is that direct connection to your conscious, to this higher consciousness. It's a bypass of all these drugs, everything. You don't have to do anything. Once you start working on, and meditation is the process of corralling your mind, right? Putting your mind over there, making it do something. It's called brain tapping, where you start doing something, your brain goes, "What's that?" That's your mind. And your mind goes, "What's that?" And it'll keep busy there while.
Goathead says it's hard to block out the noises in my head.
Right. So when I do my inner gardening music, it has these frequencies in it, several different ways. One of them is a certain frequency, which is basically a beat. You have a beat, a tap. So you have a certain rhythm in the beat going. Your body and your brain starts going, that, I like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you have the frequencies which are cued into for your body. You don't hear it through your ear. You hear it's just one organ of that you can listen to, but you listen to with your skin, you listen to with your organs. Every part of your body will hear the frequency that it's tuned into.
Yeah.
See what I mean? So your eyes have a certain frequency, your lungs have a certain frequency. So if you play those frequencies, your eyes or your lungs will get that, will absorb the frequencies. Your eyes you can hear through your eyes. When you see sound, when you see color, that sound that gets transferred into a frequency in your head. That's what the pineal gland does. The little computer says, okay, tick, 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 tick. It recodes it so that it goes out in the right frequency. So when you learn to meditate, and meditation is different for different people according to their energy patterns and what's going on in their life and all these different factors that they have to deal with. I know thousands of friends, and at least they all have slightly different. They can practice the same. I know that some of them did the same meditation technique I do, but others have evolved to do their own. Learn something that they really like, that really that their body in a sense works. And that's what you have to learn in meditation. You have to learn, what is it that when I start doing that, I feel. I have a friend that's Kundalini. I studied Kundalini myself, but Kundalini doesn't do the same thing as my meditation did. But because of my meditation, I can do Kundalini, even though it's very physical. I enjoy it, but there are lots of other types of meditation that your body will relax, your brain will relax, and they'll allow you to make that connection with your, quote, the higher self, because basically you have a lower consciousness and a higher consciousness. And that's what it's all about. That's what the mycelium connection basically is. The same thing with every drug on this planet that Mother Nature has put here. It's basically a way for you to get that point. That's what Mother Nature said. We're going to help you get your shoes and socks off so you barefoot on the ground. That's called grounding. That's right.
Yeah. And that helps with meditation because it's helping you tune into a certain frequency. But do we all have the same frequency, or is everyone different? And I myself personally, I would say we all have the same frequency, and that's where the grounding really actually does come in. It's that frequency of the universe that's around us. Now, for myself, Andy, and I know I'm kind of cutting you off, but
No, you're not.
I don't like in my meditation, and everybody's going to be a little bit different for how they tune in, but I never look at what's outside. I focus on going inside of myself because that's where my true connection to source energy is, or you want to call it God, you want to call it Buddha, whatever you want to call it. But remember, all of that is inside of you, and that's where I look inside to meet that, like tuning into my own heartbeat, the hearing the flow of blood going through your body, and the more you can focus down into that, the more of the connection you can actually form. But that's me personally, Andy. Do you go in or do you go out?
All the meditation on the planet, all the meditation sources, everything go in. There's not one meditation that says, look outside, look out there, look over there, no, they all go, let's go inside, come on in, come on inside. All of them, whether it be dancing, whether it be even the Sufis when they're rotating around, it's all trying to calm the mind so you can go inside. That's what it's all about, going inside. So when I meditate, I don't meditate on trees. I don't make so I can go sit down and be silent and listen to trees and listen to the wind.
Yeah.
That's a form of meditation, but it's not the meditation, right, that I practice, or the meditation when you do yoga. Your idea is to let the body do its work, and you're relaxing, and then you go inward, right? You don't go outward.
Well, you look at the long distance runners. They say they reach that point, where they let go of their body and they just exist, and that's a form of meditation.
Right, because your breathing sets us to be a certain pattern. Your brain starts to. What happens is that so the runners are doing a form of brain tuning. So you can do brain tuning in many different ways. But when you're running, you're getting into a pattern. You're breathing. Your body goes, "Oh, I think I better pay attention to this," and you start to breathe with it. And your body goes, "Yeah, all right." And your body's getting into it, and then you let go because it's all automatic. And if you do that, you eventually get to that same point that anybody else that meditates does, just a different way.
Yeah.
Just a slightly different way. So you can run forever, no pain. Your body is not saying, oh my God, I need water, I gotta pee. No, it's like, right. It's the same thing with pilots, the same thing with any professional. They get into the queue, they start let their body. That's what practice is. You're basically teaching your body, your brain, let's do it this way, do it this way, do it this way.
Repetition, repetition.
Right. And after a while, he says, let go, and you do it that way. So a fighter pilot doesn't have any time to think. He just has to, his body has to do it. Right. Yeah. Same thing with dancing. When you're dancing, you can think, do I move my left foot? What you just right? That's what it's all about. And it's the same thing in nature. The trees and the plants, they don't think. They all have this magical flow. And so when you get into that flow, you start relaxing and you start going with the flow too without thinking. That's what it's all about. Listening to the rhythm. That's why nature is so cool, because it has so many different frequencies. It's such a collage of sound and energy.
Yeah.
That there's only one way to absorb it. If you try to absorb it like a normal human being, you'll flip right out because you cannot process that kind of so much energy at one time. Just standing on the planet Earth, we're being bombarded by trillions and zillions different kinds of frequencies from outer space, from other planets.
Yeah. Well, because you tune in, like that's where people build Zen gardens and sit in their Zen garden and block everything else out so they can get tuned into that, internal frequency, which is the frequency of the universe. And all of a sudden you're connected to everything. And you hear the not the birds calling, but you hear the vibration and feel the vibration and connect. But Dr. Green Thumb has something, Andy. The coffee and seaweed combo has cam-sized glue shrubs, man. Oh, amen. Zero mold with 3 weeks left. So your coffee and seaweed is working great to knock out the molds, Andy.
Good. It's a coffee is acidic. And most molds need an alkaline environment to survive it. That usually tells you that that. And then so if you, that's why, for example, apple cider vinegar is very, very good for a lot of different uses once you learn how to use it, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but so I'm glad. But so there are basic, simple things that people can do. One of the things I like about gardening, because it seriously grounds you. People think, well, yeah, salt water is a heavy trace minerals. All salt water, if it's come from the right sources, tons of trace minerals. That means
Yeah.
that the collage of energy and frequency that it has is intense. So when you take a little bit of salt on a regular basis with your water, you're energizing your electric magnetic field. Zoom, zoom,
Yeah.
you know. And when you do that, you're more open to receiving and sending information. People have to learn how to send and receive. It's not as simple as I'm open. You have to have a way to send and a way to receive. Once you develop that, you'll find yourself communicating all the time. If you're in the forest, you can even sit by the ocean because the ocean is full of life. There's life everywhere. There's nothing, no place there's no life. Really
Yeah.
on this planet, even deep down, even in space, there's life out there too. So, right? What's that? Put salt on food, don't drink it. It's too concentrated that way. Right. The
Well,
way.
I'm going to break in on that one because I put salt in my water because I have our reverse osmosis system which pulls everything out, and so I put in a high quality sea salt. I don't put a lot in, but if I don't put that in, it actually would pull the minerals out of my body. So I have to put it in. But he's saying also is, swim in it, don't drink it. But hey, man, I live in the prairies, buddy. I don't got salt water to go swim in. Sorry.
So every morning I get up, I have a glass of water, but in that water I put a pinch of salt, and
Yeah.
I put in a pinch of baking soda. And the bicarbonate soda is a food grade type, so it doesn't have aluminum in it. It
Yeah.
changes the alkalinity, and it allows me to. And the salts are very, very good for it because you want to get, not all salt are created equal. The salt is totally
Yeah.
junk. Use that salt, you're dead. You can use Celtic salt. You can use a wide
Sea
variety of
mining.
ancient seabed salts. They're
Yeah.
available. I've been buying
Yeah.
this North Korean
And
mining
it's
salts.
all about, are you giving too much?
Right,
And
a
most
pinch,
people go overboard. They,
a pinch.
and throw themselves out of balance. It's like, growing in salts, is not the way to grow, but you have to have a little bit there, because the micronutrients that are in the salt.
Right, salt. If so, people always say, sugar and salt are bad. Well, the truth
Yeah.
is that it depends on what type of sugar you get and what type of salt you get. And
Well,
same thing.
you talk about that a lot, Andy, especially when we get into they're using the refractometer. It's is it complex carbohydrate or is it a
Simple,
non-complex? And the bugs love the weaker one and can't
simple.
handle the stronger one. And that's the same whether it's salt, whether it's sugar, whether it's anything. It's what's a bioavailable for the body and for the plant. And a lot of the times these bugs and that can't use the more complex molecules. They have to use the weaker molecules, and then we get weaker plants.
So the trick with those salt and water is that first you have to realize that salt and water go back for centuries, and life is here because of salt and water.
Yeah.
And the salt has a wide variety of properties, not to mention 90 trace minerals. It depends on the salt. What did you get? And then if you put a pinch in water, which normally the water will dissolve a certain amount of salt, the rest of it sells to the bottom, and then you're drinking all that. You're drinking way too much salt, and you're gonna get your body into trouble. So a little pinch will be more than enough for your body to. The water will dissolve it, and with the baking soda, will alkaline it a little bit. So when it goes into your body, it doesn't. Your body will absorb the trace minerals almost instantly. But before it even gets out of your mouth and swallows into your tongue, right underneath your tongue, there's these systems that will suck up the trace minerals. Oh yeah, George, we got some more here. And that's what it's just the right amount. And
Yeah.
And as you said, and you can't, don't be a moron. So that's what they just said. Basically,
Yeah.
it's people tend to add more than they really should, and then it becomes toxic. Remember, trace minerals is meant to be trace. And
Yes.
that's
And
why I
like,
like homeopathic medicine, because it's really very important to be traced, very, very,
yeah.
very, very almost unseen. Because I always believe that homeopathic medicine, for example, the smallest amount of medicine is what works. It's like
Mhm.
1/1000th of a part of the medicine is there, and that works better than the actual full time medicine. Yeah, and
Yeah.
salt is a dehydrator. So you
Yeah.
take too
Well,
much
and
of that.
it was used to preserve food, salted pork, salted fish, and that
Right.
it was, drawing the moisture out. So it definitely is a dehydrator, but it's how much are you using? And if you use a little bit, it's okay. If you use a lot, it's bad for you. If you use, you know, uh, actually, the best way to think of it, guys, is you look at any cattle farmer and you ask them if they have a salt lick, mineral lick for their cattle. Yes, because if they don't, their cattle get sick and die. You have to have a certain amount of salt, but it's how much salt, and as Andy said, don't be a moron, because if you put, a tablespoon of salt in, a liter or a gallon of water, that's way too much, where the
Here,
pinch is
here's
is
something, here's
better.
something interesting too. So, okay, so you got friends of mine will keep buying things for me, and I look at the back. It says organic and everything, but the sodium content, they sodium 720 grams of sodium, 720 grams of sodium. That means
Yeah.
they add salt to it. And the salt that they add is not the same sodium that we want. So people have
Yes.
to you have to learn the difference. Even if it's an organic product, salt can still be junk.
And is it
Same thing-
iodized salt or non-iodized salt? Because as soon as
Exactly,
you iodize it, it's not salt anymore.
exactly right, and it still could call it organic. So
Yeah.
and the thing to remember is that it's trace minerals. So in nature, the way we grew up as human beings, we never ate the same thing on a regular basis. We were never able to get all the trace minerals we wanted on a regular basis. So that
Yeah.
there's a reason for that. You don't want to eat the same thing on a regular basis. So what I do is I've learned to rotate different things that I take in the morning. I
Mm-hmm.
do not want to eat the same thing all the time. I do not take a pinch of salt every morning, because that's like clockwork. You want to do it when you need it. Ideally, you should have a minimum of once or twice a week. It depends on your body. It depends on your age. It depends on how active you are. It depends how much junk food you eat. Because if you eat tons and tons of junk food, it's going to reduce your ability to be healthy. It will reduce your ability to take in trace minerals. And more
Yeah.
and more, you're going to have to rely on the good sources of trace minerals, because you're not getting the trace minerals from the sources you're supposed to be. So it's a process that you cannot do these things unless you're specifically eating good, healthy food, whether it be
Mhm.
sprouts or organic produce that you're growing yourself. Because if the food you're eating is junk and it's already all over salt, a little bit of good salt you take is not going to change it's not going to help you out at all. As a matter of fact, your body would not be able to process, because it's junked out from the food you have in there already.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
See?
And like when I did my studies on beekeeping, guys, there's a gentleman that did a study on bees, you know, drinking salt water. Now, the reason he started the study is he had water out for his bees, nice and pure water, and the bees were going to puddles, dirt, mucky puddles, and getting the water from these puddles. And he was trying to figure out why. So he started doing a survey using different salts and different amounts of salt in water, and the bees kept going to the salt water instead of the pure water. Why? They needed the minerals, etc., in that they were getting from the salt. Okay, and I think it was Morton's that he actually found was the best salt, or was the salt the bees chose over Celtic sea salt and other bunch of other salts. But it's the minerals that are in the salts. It's like, we talk about C90 on a regular basis because it's got 90 trace minerals.
That's SEA-90.
Exactly, and these are needed, guys. It's just like, you need sand in the soil because sand has, all these minerals in it that the biology needs for building blocks. And it's trace minerals a lot of the time. But if you look at a grain of sand, Andy, I like to look at it as a warehouse. It's like a Costco, where you can go in and you can get all these different products from one thing. That's what sand is in our soil. It's a warehouse of minerals that are there that the biology can break down to use for growth of
when they need it.
Yes.
When it needs it. It's not like it's all there available at one time. There's a real big difference. And what I would like to tell people is that if you are not eating healthy, if you're eating healthy, then your produce is organically grown. It should have minerals in it. It should have all your balanced and trace minerals. I say should because these people that grow organic, you ask them, say, well, what are you doing about trace minerals? Who needs trace minerals? This soil is so healthy. Look, it says everything grows up really nice. I'm not using your refractometer or whatever accent they would have because I don't believe in that. The bottom line is that if you don't put it in, you're not going to get it out. I know lots of people say, okay, the earth has all there, but it doesn't. That would be the normal. That would be like ideal way. If Mother Nature was functioning, everything was happening. Yeah, no problem. Everything's healthy all the time. Animals are dying left and right. The soil is regenerating. Everything is happening. Great. That's not happening now.
Oh, hell no.
That's not happening now.
Check this out, Andy. Lily says she saw a video earlier today that said that they are using plastic waste to make vanilla flavoring. I mean, like, this is how, crazy things have gotten. You see videos now where they're meat, isn't meat anymore.
It hasn't been that. It's been that way forever, man. Look,
it's crazy.
If you go into any of these burger stores, I'm not going to mention any names. You know who they are.
Yeah.
You can't find real potato chips. You can't find a real little loaf of bread. This is all gook that they run to the machines. It's a gook that is made. It may have a little bit of it in there, but most of it it's chemically made, and they make it. It looks like French fries, or it looks like hamburgers, or even looks like bread, but it's not. And you eat that, what happens? You are no longer absorbed. Not only can you you're not eating right because you're going to die anyway because the food is so.
You're getting more plastics in your microplastics, only they're not micro anymore.
You're getting, and it go to your brain, but you're inhibiting your ability to absorb the trace minerals that you need so badly. And even if you take a little pinch of the best trace mineral salt in the world and put it in your mouth, your body's going to go, well, I can't deal with it. So it's a catch-22. If people are living their lives eating junk food, then junk is what's going to come out, junk in, junk out, and they're going to have all kinds of diseases and all kinds of pests. Yes, humans have pests and diseases, just like plants have pests and diseases, and trees have, and they all have the same connection. And the trees they don't worry about what other people think about them or what's going on. They rely on the soil biology to feed them. Mm-hmm. That's Mother Nature. Mother Nature feeds them. That's how it works. The whole system works really well. Whereas us humans, we don't rely on Mother Nature to feed us anymore. We rely on going shopping and buying stuff that you run into a refractometer or run into any kind of test. You're going to find there's nothing. You shouldn't be eating that.
Yeah.
There's so many chemicals and so many different food that it's like I think I read somewhere it's 80 different chemicals in beer now. 80 different chemicals in beer. Yeah. None of that's real. None of that's your body's going to go, oh, this is so good, right? Or it may go, yeah, this is great because you're addicted to that, right? To that rush, whatever. But not because, I'm getting everything I need. I can live to be 200 like this, right? And that's the problem.
Exactly. We're well preserved now. We're gonna, we can get buried and we'll still be down there for the next 300 years because we have so many preservatives in our body. But Andy, I don't think we actually talked about this at all. You discuss using salt to increase Brix levels in fruits.
Yes, right. So I did mention it before, and I try not to push it too much because if people use too much, they just overdo it. I mean, so I go spray and I use C90. amongst other
Yeah.
things for trace minerals. So in 100 gallons of liquid, which is pure filtered water, has the biology in it, I may use a tablespoon of salt in there. A tablespoon in 100 gallons of water. That
Yes.
is the extent that I would use salt.
Yeah.
But you can
Well,
take it one step further. You can have a little spray bottle, nice, clean, filtered water. Maybe you have the worm juice in there. You would need a pinch of the salt stir.
yeah,
That's all you need. And any kind of any more than that, it becomes a toxic. It becomes a toxic. Your body
exactly.
starts to, your cell starts to break down. Your brain starts to fart. Next thing you know, you're going.
I think I'm taking too much, Andy, because I do that every morning when I wake up.
And that's what's going. That's what's going on. And normally salt is good. I mean, I go to the store and I see whipped sea salt. Well, the sea salt is not exactly the sea salt from the ocean. This is salt that came from the ocean, but most of them are from power plants, from water filtration plants. They take seawater and they separate the salt. But in the process of separating, they totally kill the salt. The salt is no longer salt that your body can process. There's a chemical reaction that goes to it. Yeah, it's salt, but it's toxic to you. And that's one of the things. What are we going to do with it? How do they sell it? Sell it to that company. They can add it as sea salt. So anytime you see sea salt on the packaging, you know that it's not like they use salt water on it. They distilled it somehow. They took it out of the ocean somehow. Yeah. And so when you do that, you no longer have it as a food. You now have it and there's no regulation as how much you're taking. I saw tell you about something that has 720 grams of sodium in it. 720 grams. I buy something that may have 50 in it. That's too much. So you take that on a regular basis. Yeah, you're going to be a lot of salt, and then you're also doing the sugar to balance it out. Sugar is not the same sugar that we think sugar should be. So you have this thing going on in your body with this perfect environment for your body to start breaking down. You go straight to your brain. You start collecting, and then you're surrounded in toxic. The city water you can't drink anymore. I mean, I could go on forever. Probably we get blocked real soon. But that's the end of it. Sorry, can't say anymore. So anyway, what are we talking about today? Oh yeah, Mycelium Intelligence. So I want to pass on one thing is that if you get in touch with Mycelium Intelligence, you're literally going to get in touch with the consciousness of the universe. Because if you look at it at a galaxy, you'll see that the web is the same web that's in your brain as in the soul. So we have the same ability, like we have the same antenna. We can pick up the same information. See what I mean, right? And so it's so cool. You can get it directly into your body, that information. You don't need to take anything. You just have to tune in to that energy, whether it be a solar system, another galaxy. All these are really cool, and they represent our brain has the same pattern, so they can vibrate together, they can trigger together, and we can, if we do that, we still have the ability to survive because Mother Nature will take care of us. Right now,
guys, if you're wanting to help yourself tune in, guys, look up the Invisible Gardener on SoundCloud, and you'll find Andy's stuff on SoundCloud where he talks about the binaural, where you're listening to it on both sides. You need to use a headset, but that is going to help you. That's going to tune that frequency in, and if you
don't listen to it. Don't listen to it if you're an alien. If you're an alien, please don't listen to it because it'll make you leave. It'll make you leave your body. Next thing you know, you'll be this green goop going, "Oh God, my body built there disappeared. Sorry." Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Andy. Wait, I'm Andy. All right.
Yeah.
You guys. See you later. We have the vegetable garden coming up next week.
We have vegetable garden?
Yeah, that's the chapter.
Oh, okay. And tomorrow, guys, if it'll actually bring it up here.
And if you want a copy of the book, Don't Panic, It's Organic, just go to my website, do the inquiry form, say, hey, send me the book. I'll get the ebook version, the color version. You'll get that in the email right away. And to those people that want the book, I'm still in the process of getting the book. I'm just updating it, okay? You're going to get the best and the greatest ever. I got a list of all 42,000 people.
Okay. And guys, the ladies are on Chiropractic is Sexy tomorrow. So you're going to want to check that out. I was trying to bring up what they're talking about tomorrow. Let's just see what their title is tomorrow. They're talking about how chiropractic improves balance, prevents falls, and protects independence. So that's what the chiropractic is sexy tomorrow, guys. And I'll be in the background, but if you guys show up, just give us all a big thumbs up, and we will talk to you next week.
Bye.